In Lua, when we talk about arrays, we really need to talk about tables, because in other languages, arrays are their own data type. So actually, in the history of computer science, the very first data structure that emerged from the base data types were the arrays, because it used to be that you were sequentially addressing blocks of memory. That's what the array meant. Like it was sequential blocks of memory, right? And if you have a history with working with C, you know about working way down here in the abstraction layer. Lua lives up here. Lua lives pretty high up in the abstraction layer, but they keep some of these ideas. In Lua, there is only one data structure, and that is the table. Other languages are different, okay? We're talking about Lua, the language you're learning here. And the most important vocabulary for you to remember about Lua tables is that they are associations of keys with values. And that's really simply it. It's keys associated with values. The keys really can be pretty much any valid data type. You can have numerical keys, you can have string keys, you can have other tables as keys, you can have functions as keys, although some of that starts getting weird. Nil technically is a valid data type, but that's pretty weird, and you probably wouldn't do that to yourself. Now, on the other hand, the values also can be any valid data type. There's some notes down there. You can look at those notes, hit pause. That's minutia. We won't get into that. Tables, though, are keys, comma, values. Now, when we think about arrays, like I said, they're not their own data structure in Lua. They're really just a special case of table. Go back to middle school, high school, really just go back to your geometry class and recall that all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. Same thing here. All arrays are tables, but not every table is an array. What does it mean to be an array in Lua? It means simply this. The keys in the table are sequential integers, starting at the first number. Now, this is actually a point of contention for a lot of people, because Lua counts the same way that my beloved Mima counts. If I were to call Mima up right now and ask her, Mama, what's the first number? She very naturally is going to tell me, well, sweet baby, it's number 1. Number 1 is the first number because 1 means first. Lua counts the same way, which, if you know about arrays in other languages, is a little quirky. Arrays in other languages typically start at 0 because 0 is indeed the lowest binary state. But again, Lua counts the way Mima counts. Lua starts at 1. So what does it mean to be an array? It means that you are a table. You are associating keys with values, and the keys are really kind. They're really nice. They're really relatively easy to work with. They are sequential integers starting at 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you have.
Well, the other really important thing to keep in mind with arrays versus tables is that if your company gives you a table every month, you're going to run out of space in your house, in your apartment, really, really soon. There's just not a lot of space, within your living room, your dining room to put that many tables. If your company gives you a raise every month, well, that's great. Now you're making a whole lot of money. And you could spend that raise to purchase tables if you wanted to, but you could also spend that money to purchase chairs or other things that are valuable. I think that's probably a better metaphor. Am I right?
It might be.
I'm being told I'm right, yes.
But at this particular point, hey, Nate, how about that array?
How about that array?
Yeah, I'd like an arrays, please.
You get a table. I'm sorry.
Oh, shoot. Okay, you should remember this picture. This is actually a really fantastic picture that helps to illustrate what arrays are and how you should think about them. You can think of arrays as, well, they're data structures, but it's really useful to think of them as a row of mailboxes, and those mailboxes are holding things inside of them. Maybe they're holding strings, maybe they're holding numbers, maybe they're holding other tables, maybe they're holding really kind of anything, but what you're walking up with are keys. You have key number 1, key number 2, key number 3, and the way that data structures work is when you stick in the key, you're able to open the door and pull out the contents. Whatever those contents are, you get them out. This is called indexing a table or indexing an array. And when we did bracket 1 a minute ago, we were indexing the array of controls, and we stuck in the number 1 and we got out the button. We got out the control. And that's why we were able to write bracket 1.event handler, is because we stuck in 1 and we pulled out the button. I know this might seem a little weird if this is the first time you're working with data structures, but you're going to grow to love these things because they make your code able to sing and go to great heights really, really quickly. So you might recall from the first video when I told you that the press and hold presets code is only like 30 lines in length. It's because we're using these scalable ideas of using tables and arrays as they're meant to be used, to be able to write things once and deploy them lots of times.